Happy Monday, Rangers! Welcome to another week of virtual safari school. I hope you had a wonderful Easter weekend celebrating spring, whether it was sunshine or snow. And maybe this year you celebrated the Easter Bilby instead of the Easter Bunny, huh? Maybe. So today we're going to start this session by going over the answers to the quiz that I gave you on Friday. So go ahead, get your field guide out, and let's go over some of those questions. And then we're going to dive into Safari today because today is brought to us by the letter F. Alright, so let's go over that quiz. Question number 1 was, what two animals are related to each other? If you wrote agouti and capybara, you're right. Great job. There are others in there too, so other answers would be accepted too. But agouti and capybara. And I'll go ahead and post these answers on today's class too. How many birds did we learn about last week, huh? Just one. Just one, actually. The eider bird. You could count 2 if you want to include the emu, because we touched on that briefly, but 1, the eider bird. Question number 3. Name 2 animals that can hold their breath for a long time. The chevrotain, and which can hold its breath for how long? 4 minutes. That's right. And the dugong. That's right. Who can hold its breath for up to 8 minutes. Very good. Question number 4, name 2 animals that are both terrestrial and arboreal, meaning they hang out on the ground and in the trees. So what 2 animals are terrestrial and arboreal? If you said bonobo and coati, you're right. Very good. All right, and that 5th question was, how many antelopes did we learn about this week? The answer is 3. What are they? The bongo, the eland, and the dik-dik. And while the dik-dik and the chevrotain are very similar, I'm pretty sure the chevrotain is not considered an antelope. So, yes! Bonobo and coati. Very good. All right, so the bongo, the eland, and the dik-dik. Very good. So those are the questions to last week's quiz. Again, the 6th question was to encourage you to draw your favorite animal that you learned about last week. So again, if you went ahead and did that, I would love for you to share your artwork below. Let's get into it. Yeah, you should watch before you, remember, get your field guide, be taking some notes, because after this 5-week course, you're going to have quite an extensive knowledge and documentation of unique animals that you've now heard of. So let's dive into today's class. Today is brought to us by the letter F. Can you think of an animal that starts with F? Fox, falcon, fish. Very good. Those are good ones. Now, let's learn about some animals that start with F that you haven't heard of, like the Fossa. Fossa, 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 Fossa. Fossa. What's a Fossa? A Fossa is Madagascar's top predator. It's really the only apex predator living in Madagascar, which means it eats everything. It eats lemurs, it eats lizards, it eats small mammals, it eats big mammals, it eats rodents, it eats insects, it eats everything, which makes it a really, really unique carnivore because it's equal opportunity. So again, the Fossa is a mammal that lives in Madagascar. It's endemic to Madagascar, meaning it's not found anywhere else. And it's related to the mongoose, but it sort of looks like a mongoose, a cat, and a dog. So like, it's got a mongoose body, but it sort of acts like a cat, but its face sort of looks like a dog. It's actually pretty cute. They are extremely cat-like in behavior, and they have retractable claws, meaning that they can easily run on the ground and climb trees. So what's that make them? That's right, terrestrial and arboreal. And seeing as they eat stuff on the ground and up there, they need to be able to access both in the trees and on the ground pretty quickly. And they can do that by their long tail, which is half as big as their body. So if a Fossa's body is 3 feet, its tail is going to be 3 feet. That means it's a 6-foot Fossa. That's a big Fossa. And yet, even though they're only about 6 feet long, or even though they're up to 6 feet long, they only weigh less than 30 pounds. So that's a slinky Fossa. They are solitary, but they do give birth to litters of, I believe, 2 to 4 young. Let's see where my notes are. They're long and slinky. They're the top predator in Madagascar. They eat everything. They are the main predator of lemurs, and that's what makes them such an important animal for this ecosystem. Carnivores are responsible for keeping the ecosystem balanced, so making sure that animals don't get too overpopulated. They keep those populations in check. And so protecting apex predators, top predators, is really important in maintaining the health of ecosystems. And the Fossa has been incredibly difficult to study in the jungles of Madagascar, which is why it's important that we learn about them, study them, and learn the best ways to protect them. So they are threatened due to habitat loss. This was taken from National Geographic. I'm going to go ahead and read this fact. Less than 10% of Madagascar's original intact forest cover, the Fossa's only home, remains today. So a lot of habitat destruction, deforestation is leading to a loss of Fossa. And remember, with the loss of the Fossa means the loss of the lemurs, and the loss of the lemurs means the loss of pretty much everything that Madagascar has to offer for ecotourism. So we need to protect those areas. So the Fossa, can you say the Fossa? Fossa, Fossa, Fossa. If you see Madagascar, the movie, you might remember the Fossa as the creatures that Alex the lion scared away from the lemurs. That was a real animal. So go ahead and rewatch that movie and see if you can spot the Fossa. Very good. All right, so that's the Fossa. Let's go on to our second F animal, the Frigate Bird. I do like the Frigate Bird. The Frigate Bird is a medium-sized seabird with a massive wingspan. So their body's like only the size of a chicken, but they can have a wingspan of up to 8 feet. Can you imagine a chicken with 8-foot wings? Just crazy. So they're notorious. They're a seabird. So they live along tropical and subtropical coasts and islands all over the world. And they're notorious for attacking and stealing the food from other seabirds. So that's rude. Both parents care for a single egg on a very crowded nesting colony that, again, are along the coast of subtropical and tropical islands and coastlines. Both males and females have mostly black feathers, but the males have a large throat pouch that when they are ready to attract the ladies, they inflate and beat it like a drum, and it's bright red. So that's quite a show. Oh boy. And that's how they attract a mate. So that's the Frigate Bird. That's pretty exciting. Can you say Frigate Bird? Yeah, nice. All right. And our final F animal. It's a double F. It's a Fennec Fox. Can you say that? Fennec Fox? Yeah. Fennec foxes are the smallest canine in the world. Picture this. It's like a chihuahua, but a wild chihuahua with a bushy tail and big ears. It's really cute. So they live in the desert, arid, dry areas of North Africa, so the Saharan Desert, as well as in the Middle East. They're an omnivore. They eat, what's that, a feline? What's a feline? A Fennec Fox isn't a feline. A feline does start with F, and a feline is a cat, but a Fennec Fox is a canine. The world's smallest canine. It's an omnivore. It eats insects, small animals, and fruits. It's crepuscular. Remember what that means? That's right, comes out at dawn and dusk to hunt. And it spends most of the desert heat underground in a burrow. Now, unlike most foxes, fennec foxes are rather social animals, and they're, like the dik-dik, highly monogamous. And they give birth to 1 to 4 kids with both parents caring for the young, and occasionally they'll even link their burrows up to their neighbors' burrows so that you get an extensive pipeline of burrows underneath the sand dunes of all the little fennec foxes hanging out. The reason they have those really big ears is for 2 main reasons. Number 1, their ears act as both a heating and a cooling mechanism. So they have blood vessels in their ears, and during the heat of the day, the fennec fox releases the heat out of its ears. And then at night, the fennec fox can sort of keep that heat in because it gets really cold in the desert at night. And then the fennec fox can control its body temperature with its giant ears. Another thing its giant ears allow it to do is listen to prey underground. So it'll stand real still and it'll just turn its head until it hears its prey and then pounces and then gets its prey. Yeah. So that's what the fennec fox's ears are for. The biggest predator it faces is the eagle owl. And other, predators as well, like the caracal or like a hyena or a wild dog. But fennec foxes are really small and pretty quick. So it'd be pretty tricky for other predators to get them. But the eagle owl, oh boy. Fun story, or fun fact, the fennec fox actually served as inspiration for the fox character in the Little Prince story. And, where the pilot, crashes in the desert. So what kind of desert fox would he meet? A fennec fox. That's right. So while they can be considered an exotic pet in some places, we have to remember that even though they can be a pet, doesn't mean they should be a pet. As adorable and small as they are, we still have to remember that these are wild animals, and it takes a lot of breeding to get that wildness out of that animal, and we don't want to do that. So while they can be considered an exotic pet, they do not make good pets, and that's really important to remember. I learned this somewhat the hard way. Many years ago, I was walking home from school and I saw someone with a fennec fox on their porch, and I was like, that's the cutest thing in the world. And so I got to pet it and I got to hold it, and I was like, this is amazing. This shouldn't be real. Well, it shouldn't be real. Fennec foxes don't make good pets. Honestly, if you want a small canine, get a Chihuahua. There's plenty at the local shelter to rescue. And believe it or not, even a Chihuahua is probably a lot more domesticated than a fennec fox. So that's the fennec foxes, and that's what is important about all of these animals, is that they're wild. While the fennec fox may not necessarily be listed as endangered or at risk, its habitat and maybe its prey certainly is. And so that's why we need to educate ourselves, educate others, get passionate about protecting our environment, our earth, and that's exactly why I'm thrilled that you continue to join me for these virtual safari schools. So that wraps up today's lesson. To review real quick, we went over the Fossa, top predator in Madagascar, the Frigate Bird, which likes to drum on its chest to beat the ladies, and the Fennec Fox, which is a large-eared, bushy-tailed wild Chihuahua. So go ahead, Google those animals. I challenge you to draw your favorite one of those animals, including that Fennec Fox. That's what I'm going to do today. And I look forward to you joining me tomorrow for another wild adventure. So as always, stay wild, and we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, friends. Bye. Bye.